Hey everyone, it's Gary Wilson, and welcome to this week's live Path to Prosperity webinar. Hope you're doing well. Let me just double check here and see a few things. Um, Good. We got some of the newer folks in from California. Hey Victoria, how you doing? And Robert, how you doing? Good to see you. And some veterans on here: Pennsylvania, Pam, Shirley. Let's see, Michigan. All right, Jeff, how you doing, buddy? Um, Cool. We got Indiana, Doug Carroll. How you doing? Jersey, Fassel. How you doing? Welcome aboard, everybody. What we're going to do tonight is I've been getting questions about using Bank Tracker to determine which banks are in trouble, right? Or I shouldn't say in trouble. Which banks have loans that are in default? Could be 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Could be actively in uh, trustee or foreclosure processes, depending on what state or province you're in. So we're going to go through that tonight. I'm going to go over the script to use and go into a lot more detail on what it means to work with these banks. So we're not talking about the big national banks. I mean, we'll go over that if you guys would like. It's just a lot more complex. It's so much easier to work with the small local banks. But before we do all that, let me just double check everything here real quick. Let me go ahead and turn on the recording. Oh, recording's on, sorry for that. We're live and recording. How about that? Okay, let me go to my question box here, type in, can you see my screen in here? Can you see my screen and hear my voice? Let me just open up your question box. And by the way, if you do have questions, guys, on any subject, before we get into tonight's subject, if you could go ahead and post those, we will cover any random items that have popped up in the last week. So if you go ahead and do that now, if you have any questions that are outstanding, we'll go ahead and cover those. I'll give you a minute to type those in. And after that, we will dig into the content. And while you're doing that, just a quick, some housekeeping. For those of you who are relatively new, you notice that we are live, we are recording, which means some people will be watching this and or listening to it in recorded mode. Either way, it's okay. You definitely want to be on live as much as you can, because this is where you can actually get a lot of your questions answered and interact with some of the other participants. So in any case, just remember, the day after any webinar, always check the email, check your emails from Beverly, okay? And you'll see in there any scheduling updates or changes or announcements coming up. As a matter of fact, Beverly just sent an email out today with the upcoming webinar schedule for March. Also, any updates to the systems or platforms, we'll make you aware of that. Any other announcements? Again, for example, most of you already know by now, our next 3-day event is coming up April 5th, 6th, and 7th at Anaheim, at the Anaheim Marriott, right outside the gates of Disneyland. It's just been recently remodeled. So if you're coming in from Michigan or Wisconsin, any of the northern states or northeastern states, book your flights. It's going to be pretty nice weather-wise. It usually is that time of year. And you can put away your shovels and boots and coats for a short spell. Bring your families out. Let them go to Disneyland for a day or two. Reduced rate on the hotel, and also if you're an active student, of course, your event fee is waived by My Investment Services. So that's a pretty good deal. So in any case, so look for all that. If you could, please, that would be great, just to keep up with everything. So let me go back here and double check for questions. Let's see. We got several of them, actually. This is Adam. Hey, Adam, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you your first time. All right. Let's see. We do have, this is Victoria. Hi, Victoria. Okay, during Module 1, said it would takes a different mindset to invest in California. What did you mean by that? Well, just so you know, Victoria, I'm actually flying back tomorrow. Been up in Canada for the weekend. But I'm out in California quite a bit, actually, usually 2 more months out of every year. And I've got family out there, so this time I'm out there for 4 months total. But every time I come out here, and I get the same thing actually when I go up to like Vancouver or New York City, any place that's very highly populated and where prices are higher than the national averages. Sometimes people have the limiting belief, well, you can't invest here, it's too expensive, can't find any properties and things like that. And I understand, because I used to feel the same way until we started using some of these tools, Victoria. So I always remember this: even though in and around LA, it can be expensive. Like down where Bob Oostek's from, San Clemente, the average price is around $1 million, but everything's relative. It's more expensive in Manhattan to invest, and yet, literally 2/3 of the residents are renting there, which means 2/3 of the properties are owned by landlords, owners, investors, just like you and I, and they'll still pay those prices. The difference is one of the examples of a mindset shift, Victoria, is that not every investor is putting down the bare minimum and trying to finance the rest. I know a lot of the late night gurus are always teaching no money down, but that's only because consumers tell them they don't have any money. So they teach no money down techniques. It doesn't mean that's the only way to invest. It's just the mindset that's created as a result of that. The reality is up around like San Francisco, for example, again, LA, some of the bigger, more expensive areas, Boston, Toronto, people will actually put more money down and oftentimes pay cash for properties. That's one example of a mindset shift. They're actually banking on appreciation as much, if not more, than they're banking on net operating income, cash flow. Okay, that's one thing. Another thing is a lot of them are, because of the 4 ways to make money in investment real estate. Well, let's just talk about rentals, for example. Your net operating income, which is your cash flow, your appreciation, the property goes up in value over time, of course. Depreciation, which is the phantom write-off we get to take for the privilege of owning properties, and equity pay down, which means if you do have a mortgage, it's being paid down over time by your tenants, right? Now, the other thing is this: you can also, there's other ways too. That's just the 4 top ways. But let's say extra strategies wise. Let's say you've depreciated a property. You can refinance it. Of course, you can sell it. You can change title on it, even though you're still in control. You can put it inside a self-directed IRA, for example. You can create a REIT, have the REIT buy it, and you control the REIT. You can create a closed-end mutual fund, syndication. There's all kinds of things you can do. In California, we will do more of those things. We'll be more creative. We'll buy within self-directed IRAs. We'll do 1031 exchanges, things like that. I'm not a big fan of 1031 exchange, but it's more popular in an area where they have more capital appreciation, which is what you definitely have in California. So what I'm getting at is in other places, people are focused exclusively on cash flow, but that's just one of the many ways to make money in real estate. Okay, so you have to open up whatever it requires of us, is to open up our hearts and minds, look at these other strategies, and figure out what does work in your area. Because the fact is it doesn't matter where you're from. People are absolutely investing, absolutely 100%. So that's what I meant by that. Sorry for the long explanation, but it was an excellent question. So okay, let's see how many. Another question, Victoria. Okay, Victoria, module 2. You said nobody can afford to invest in California. How do you recommend an agent proceed? Again, it's just a mindset thing. The reality is people can and do invest in Southern California. I guess the answer I just gave you kind of covers both questions. And we do. I mean, one of the mastermind groups I'm in called GoBundance, we invest everywhere, right? It doesn't matter really where. We just need to know what's working there, what are the economics of the area, and then we will determine what to do in those areas based on the economics. So, for example, one of your regional directors and his partner, I just interviewed Paul Morris, by the way, last week for a podcast, and his partner, David Cullen. They just purchased in the last year or two I think a 24-unit building in Long Beach, and they're getting ready to resell it here. In fact, they're closing this month on it. In 2 years, they're going to go from like 2.7 million to like 4.7 million. Okay, and of course they cash flowed the property while they owned it. So that's what I mean is, I'm just basically feeding back the remarks that I get when I teach out there, and if I just simply told people, no, you're not right, I would lose them. But if I was to say, I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you, and based on conventional wisdom, it looks like it's too expensive. But then it allows me to open up the gate to explain things further, and I'll show them techniques they can use in the area. So for example, Victoria, in your area, we would probably not use the MLS, if at all. Very rarely would we use the MLS. We would use other techniques to go locate inventory by overturning some stones here and there and looking for inventory that's not actively on any listing service. Because remember, just because a property is not listed for sale, it doesn't mean it's not for sale. It's just not on the MLS or not on Loopstar or CoStar or LoopNet, whatever. We have to use other techniques to identify specific properties, identify the specific owners, and send them specific marketing pieces that are niche oriented and highly targeted. That's how you overcome that, Victoria, in the area. And that's why we have the program. So you'll be learning a lot of that as you go through the other modules. But more importantly, remember, the learning modules are just a small fraction of this whole thing. The remainder of it really is on myinvestmentservices.com in the resource area. You have to go into, click on the members area. Here, I'll do that now. Hang on one second. So everybody follow along here, and you can kind of copy me if you want. So I will go to My Investment Services. All right. See where it says Members Area? Click on Members Area. Okay. And then you have to log into Silver Level. We're all by default Silver Level members. So a couple things, Victoria. Number one, you got here a cash buyers report. It shows you who's paying cash for properties in your area. It not only gives you the buyer's contact information, the cash buyer's contact information, more importantly, it shows you the properties they bought. So you can see what their history is. You can see what it is they like to buy. And then now you'll know some marketing techniques as you go through the training. And go find the owners of those properties and solicit them, okay? Private lenders report shows you who's lending money privately in your area. Here, let me just click on this. See who's lending money privately in the area, okay? Oops, excuse me. I'm gonna type in my name here. Gary Wilson, myinvestmentservices.com. Let's do California, okay? And we're not going to do zip code. We will do Orange County. Now this will come to me in the next 24 to 40 hours. So I'm going to hit send, and I'll get a report on that sent right to my in basket, okay? So in any case, so those two things are there. You can also go down to marketing techniques and docs, okay? You can see a couple different marketing campaigns you can use, mailer to owners, booklet, tax strategies, financing doc. Also, you can go down to analysis forms, calculators, spreadsheets, things like that. And you'll see in here there are resources. There's for Canada, resources in Canada. There's links for researching properties and people. Let's see, there's another one. Hang on one second. Let me go to back up here real quick to marketing docs and techniques. Here, important free resources to gather data on people and places. That's in here. And here's, economic development agencies. By the way, so Bob, one of the questions you and I were going over via email was how to find your county databases. If you go to BRB Publications, let's just do that, okay? We'll come back to Book of List here in a second. BRB Publications, let's click on that. That's gonna make me copy, hang on one second. Whoops. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to go back to, let me go back here real quick. So let me cut and paste this, if it'll let me. Actually, let's just do this. We'll go to short, easy way. So BRB Publications, okay? So this is an example of a free resource. It's across the board. So you go into here. You can become a member if you want, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. But what I want to show you is this. Products and services. Actually, let's do the find a public record. Is the bookstore, subscriptions, other links, use of resources, free public record searches. Let's click on that. Okay. So we're going to select a state first. Let's go pick California. Okay. Then let's pick Orange County. Hang on a second here. As many of you are in Orange County. And you can see all the websites for your Superior Court, Santa Ana. Here's your record document location. Let's click on that. Actually, let's do this. Property tax ownership. Let's click on that. And by the way, real quick, for those of you who are in Orange County, by the way, you're using something called a realist. It's the interface between your MLS and your county's property tax records. You actually have direct access to that, to all the property records in your area, not just the ones on the MLS. Let's click on this, for example, and see what's in here, okay? And I'm getting way off the subject for tonight's class, but I just want to get back to Victoria's question because it was an excellent question. So if we go into here, there's different search ways that you can search here. Let's see. Let's type in. Let's do San Clemente. Okay, so we know we're there. And I'm trying to figure out. Let's just see if we can do find here. I don't remember any particular street name. It's probably going to ask me to type in a street name. Yeah. So let me do this. Robert, give me a street name if you don't mind in San Clemente. And let's see what we can find there. If you don't mind typing one in on your question box, that would be great. I'm trying to remember the street name that the class was on. Let's see. What's today, the 18th? When did I teach her? San Clemente. That would have been, let's do Camino. That's where it was. Okay. Camino de las Mores. I wonder if I can even read my own writing here. Let's see what it brought up here. Okay. Some of them are easier than others. All right. Unsecured property tax bills. In any case, you see what I'm getting after here, guys. Let me just go back and see if Bob gave me a street name. He might be in pause mode, but that's okay. So real quick, let me go backwards. I want to show you guys some more stuff here on BRB publications. I'm going to show you one more resource before we go back into tonight's subject. So hang on one second. Let's go to the Orange County record document location website. You can see it's a government website. And by the way, just so you know, well, I shouldn't say all, much of our public records were made available to the public back in the early 2000s through the Freedom of Information Act, okay? Document recording services. In any case, you can go in there and find all kinds of stuff on people and properties almost anywhere you want, okay? Clerk recorder office extended Valentine's Day. We don't need any of that kind of stuff there. What I'm looking for here is property records. Let's just go there. I think that's where we just were a moment ago. Okay. Yeah, it looks like the same place. Official records, copy request form. We don't want to do any of that kind of stuff. Search database, click here. Okay. But what I'm getting at is you want to go to these places if you know what it is you're looking for, you know what kind of property a client may or may not want. You can use these resources to find anything you want on any person or any property. Okay. Search by name, search by map. Okay. Look at all the affidavits. In any case, you can also use, by the way, a paid service called Rebo Gateway. So we'll go back to the databases are bizjournals.com. I want to show you that one too, bizjournals.com. Bizjournals.com. This is a great way. These guys have a publication. You can even get in print. Online, you have to actually pay for it. But what they give you is a publication. Let's see what I'm trying to find. That lists the top 25 people in each industry in your area, each business, okay? And it's usually several hundred or several thousand people long, and it gives you their name, physical address, the business address, phone number, email address, the whole 9 yards. So let's see here. This is all, it looks like it's all about Charlotte. I'm trying to find the publication I'm looking for. Jobs, select talent store. Let's see if we can find it here. People move, contact top executives. This might be it right here. Just imagine if you had access. Oh, we gotta go to the store. Okay, so we're gonna make us pay for it. But what I'm getting at is this: guys, you can get this list. It's called the Big Book of Lists. All right, and in here it is right here. Get essential information on leading buyers, businesses, employers in any of the 60 U.S. markets. Let's just click on this real quick. We used to be able to get these for free because you know where we go? We go to the public library. Your community library would have these things. All right. And you can go there and get them for free. So let's see if we have what we have underneath California cities. Sacramento. Let's go to Sacramento. Okay. Book of lists in Sacramento. And there you go. You can pay for it. It used to be. So if you go to your public library, guys, and it's wherever you are, go to your public library. You can get these publications. Okay. Just ask for the biz journals, right? And I've seen them everywhere I've gone, and you can get literally names, numbers, email addresses, and physical addresses. Find anything you want about any person. Okay, now we should probably get back to what the subject for tonight was, which is working with these small community banks. Actually, hang on, we got another question coming in. This is from Faisal. Faisal is asking, is this for any state or, yeah, Faisal, that's for any state. The BRB publications is for any state. Biz Journals is for any state. I didn't go over the Canadian resources. You can see there's your Canadian assessment link. This is for property assessments. Your Canadian business is similar to the usbusinessjournals.com. But also, let me go back here real quick since you brought it up, Faisal, thanks for doing that. If you go to this other resource down here, you go to the bottom, there's a list just for Canada. So let me just pull this up here real quick. For all the Canadians, by the way, happy Family Day. I just celebrated Family Day myself with my in-laws up here in London, Ontario. Had an awesome day, lots of good food. Beautiful blue sky, sunshine, snow last night, so snow was everywhere except for the roads. But in any case, there's all the links that you can use in Canada, okay? Canada Post, Canada Stats, tax records, foreclosures, court records, postal code targeting. This is how you can do selected marketing, all right, for all the Canadians out there. That's you're pretty part of this too. So in any case, let's do this, guys. I want to go back to the subject for tonight, which is this. Using Bank Tracker to determine what banks have non-performing assets in the area. So if anybody wants to type in a bank name, actually, let me do this. Let me go back to the beginning. Okay. So first thing you do is look at this link here, banktracker.investigativereportingworkshop.org. So here it is right here. I just highlighted it in blue. It's all in your information. You all have this, the exact same link, okay? And once you type it in and hit the enter key, you get this screen. So this was created by American University students, grad students back around year 2000 in partnership with NBC News. and you can select either traditionally chartered banks. These are like your national banks, Bank of America, even your local community banks. You can also select credit unions. Let's just select credit union just for grins, okay? So you do that. You can also then go look for a list of banks. So I just did a couple up here just for grins. I wanted to see what banks so I can look. So let's look up Altura Credit Union. Let's highlight this. Okay, I'm going to show you how we use this precisely. So I'm grabbing, all I did is I typed in community banks in Riverside, California, because I'll be teaching there in a couple of weeks. All right, so I grab a bank name of a credit union. I'm going to go back here and type that in here. And let's see, hit the submit key and let's see what comes back here. Altura Credit Union, didn't like that, so let's go back here. Maybe that bank's been bought by somebody else. So let's type in Arrowhead. And sometimes that happens, by the way, guys. Banks, they buy and sell each other all the time. All right, merge, just all kinds of stuff happens. Did I type in did I go to credit unions? Actually, let me do this. Credit unions, I did do that, okay. So Central, let's take rid of that there and see if this makes it an Arrowhead. There it is, San Bernardino, okay. I'll be out there in a couple of weeks, obviously. Arrowhead Central. So we can see right there, way back in the heat of the recession, they've had a lot of troubled assets, okay? And they don't have many now, but they still do have some. So what I like to do is this. I'm looking for any bank that has a gold bar above zero. Zero being, anything above zero means they have some troubled assets. But then what I do is this. This is the part that you haven't seen because I haven't showed you this in class. There's a chart below that. It gives you the financial data on the banks, okay? You can see the level of capitalization for this bank, all right? A little bit better than 1 billion, okay? Number of deposits or amount of deposits outstanding, amount of loans outstanding, 550 million. So they literally got half of their assets loaned out, okay? Loan loss provision, 1.7 million. That is not much, okay? I don't know what that comes out to, but that's about just slightly more than 1% of their capitalization rate. And that's going to be about 2%, maybe 3 to 4% of their outstanding loans. That seems immediately pretty low. But then look at reserves, what they got in reserves. This is where this bank's going to be covering their butt should they get into trouble. They got about 10 million, 10.5 million in reserves. Okay, that's a good sign. It's a sign of a healthy bank. But what I want to show you is the rest of this stuff, okay? There's a capital there, right? That's how much profit they made in the year 2017. So this stuff's all going to be updated here pretty shortly. Other real estate owned, that's your REO. Whenever you see real estate owned, that's REO, okay? That's what they've got. They've taken back in foreclosure already. But they also have 1.8 million in troubled loans. These are loans where people aren't paying on their loans. Again, they could be 1 month out, 2 months out, 3 months out. We don't know. But the point is this: is anybody that's received a notice of default, that dollar amount has to be reported. So when you see $1,864,225, just know that these people are somewhere between being behind 1 month and being foreclosed on. Now, California is a trustee state, so different states have different methodologies to go through their foreclosure process, okay? But at the end of the day, the bottom line is if a person doesn't bring their loan current, a bank will ultimately take it into ownership, and they call that ownership REO, real estate owned, okay? So how we use this is this. If I see that they've got 1,864,000 in troubled loans, okay, and a loan loss provision is 1,696,000, I'm probably going to go visit that bank. The only reason I might not is I see they've got reserves of 10 million. In other words, they've got more than enough in reserves to cover if all of this 1.86 million goes under, they've got enough in reserves to cover it. They don't want to do that. What they want to do is use loan loss provision for that, okay? Because these reserves, could maybe used for other purposes, right? So the point I'm getting at is this. I would probably go visit this bank. I would probably go visit this credit union. The reason I brought up credit unions is a lot of people will think, well, can I do this with credit unions? Well, the answer is yes. I mean, they make loans too, right? So what I want to do is this. I want to go back to the panel here. If any of you folks have a bank that you would like to look up, just let me know, okay? Genevieve, hey Genevieve, I was going to call you. Hopefully you're doing okay. I haven't heard from you for quite a bit. I'm flying back tomorrow, Genevieve. I'll see. Let's just try to squeeze in a call sometime this week. I just want to catch up with you because I know the last time we spoke, you were going to do some marketing. So Robert Uzdike is saying the info is 18 months old. Yeah, I don't know how the website is. I don't know who maintains it. I think it's actually American University, Robert, but they do keep it current. If we look at some of these, sometimes it's a year behind, sometimes it's 3 months behind. If you use this on a regular basis, you go out there and you can always tell they've made an update. And usually, like right now, January, February, March, by the end of March, probably by mid-April, you'll see a lot of updates have been made to this. I think they're probably just tied up in other activities right now. But it's still valuable information. I always want to use this because it tells me what the trend lines are, okay? And I get all this valuable data down here. Plus, there's, if you really want to dig deep, you can actually remember bank information is banks are very heavily regulated and very highly reported, okay? And I've had students go and actually be able to find financial statements on banks because they have to make them available to investors. With a credit union, the way a credit union works, just to give you a little bit of background here, a credit union follows a different chartering mechanism than traditionally charter banks, okay? They're technically nonprofit, all right? In a credit union, if any of you are members of a credit union, you're called members, okay? You're actually sort of like an owner of the credit union, okay? All right, Robert's asking to type in South County Bank. So I'm gonna, Robert, that sounds like a regular bank. So let me just try that first, South County Bank. If it doesn't show up there, here we go. I'm gonna guess that's Rancho Santa Mar. Okay, so you can see they're down year zero. That bank's actually looks pretty healthy. Let's just go check the data and see what it says. All right, so they've only got 118,000 in troubled assets, troubled loans. Remember, when it says troubled assets, guys, that's the loan to the bank. On any piece of real estate, to you and I, the consumer, the real estate is the asset, and the loan is the liability. To a bank, the loan is the asset, okay? And the physical property, if the loan does not get paid on, the physical property, that becomes a liability to the bank because they've now got to pay out, taxes, insurance, utilities, things like that, and upkeep, okay? So in any case, back to this. They've got 119 million in loans outstanding. Hey, Robert, check this out. I'm not sure why, but this is a big no-no. I was a banker for 18 years. Look at the loan loss provision. It's minus 323,000. So just quick education here for everybody. That number is not supposed to be negative. I've got a feeling this bank's been reported. Let's see what the reserves are. They've got 2.5 million in reserves. So I'm not sure what their current situation is right now, Robert, but you may want to go visit these guys. Loan loss reserves, there's the requirement is it has to be a certain percentage of their capitalization rate, okay? So if you look down here, they got 17 million capital. Usually this is going to be somewhere in the 10% range. It just depends on their rating for the bank and history, some other factors too, in fact. But with this being negative, that means they've had to draw against this, all right? And the money had to come from somewhere. This is not like there's just some magic money tree. This is actually real money, okay? There's real investors, owners of these banks, okay? Stockholders and so forth. And those loans, that was real money that was loaned out. Okay. I don't know if Robert, if you know if this bank was or is a portfolio lender. In other words, did they sell their mortgages or did they keep the mortgages in house? Um, I've got a suspicion this is a portfolio lender because if this bank was selling mortgages, there's no way that would be minus 323,000 because the regulators will move in quickly and force them into an merger agreement with some larger bank that's healthy, or they would just literally just take over. Okay, um, so what's interesting here is this: troubled assets is quite low. Now maybe this is low, Robert, because they just took a lot of money out of loan loss provisions to cover the troubled assets. They probably just did this right before the reporting, and maybe that number is a positive number. I don't know, but I would actually look at the year over year. It was negative in 2016. It's still negative in 2017. Here it is a year later. Almost a year and a half later, like you said. I would go visit that bank, Robert. That would be my suggestion. Good example. Let me just see what else we got here. Pam, okay, SPE Federal Credit Union. Okay, let me try that one out. Pam, see what we got here. That's a credit union, obviously. So I'm going to type in SPE. Let's just type that and see what happens. Let's go and do this. Submit SPE. There it is. SPE, headquartered in State College. Yep. Woo! Hey, Pam, looks like you got a winner. Look at that. About 6 to 6.5% of the loans are underwater right now, and the trend is moving up. So let's just go check out the chart below and see what the numbers look like. Boy, that is a small bank. All right, so they got 87 million in assets. Loan loss provisions 144,000, and these are actual numbers, guys. It's not like this is in millions or anything. These are the actual dollars. Okay, so they're capitalized at 7 million, reserves are 282,000. And Pam, look at the troubled assets, 457. That's greater than the reserves, and it's also greater than the loan loss provision. In fact, 382 for the Pam, their troubled assets are greater than the reserves and loan loss provisions combined. So I think I'd go visit that bank tomorrow. Okay. Good example. Well, I like that one. Okay, let's see what else we got here. So there's some good examples out there. We tried those two banks. Schools First Credit Union. Let's try that one. Schools First. Oops, not sure what happened. Here we go. Schools First. Submit. No results found. Let's just type in schools and see what comes up. Schools. There's one in California when you were looking for Virginia. So let me go here real quick. See if we got any Pennsylvania banks begin with school. Yeah, Pam, I didn't see anything there unless it's in one of these other states. And I possibly missed PA, unless it's headquartered in another state. Pam, let me know if you know where it's headquartered. I can pull up the one in California and see what happens there. So Robert says, run that bank, please. Okay. Maybe that's the one that you're looking at, Pam. And they do look at it, and the trend is ticking up. So they got loan loss reserves, and the trend is and this is why we're being told that the shift is upon us because of stuff like this. And I can't tell you when it's going to hit, guys. I just know that it's going to hit, and we want to get familiar with these banks. So here's one of the things I want you to remember. Even though some of these numbers, maybe they've only got a couple of loans in pre-foreclosure and a couple in foreclosure, you still want to go visit them and build their relationship now. And the reason is if you wait until the bottom drops out of this thing, every agent's going to be trying to do the same thing. Even if they don't have the techniques you have, they'll still muddy up the waters for us, okay? So it's better to get the relationships built now, okay, and be prepared ahead of time. Don't wait for the storm, get prepared now. Okay, so let's look at this schools bank. 124 million. Assets, loans 73 million. The loss positions 225,000. Capital 60 million. This bank actually looks like they're doing okay. 2.3 million in reserves and 415 in troubled assets. I would probably still go visit these guys. I mean, let's face it, troubled assets is at 415 and loan loss provisions at 225. So that's a difference of $190,000. Doesn't sound like a lot, but you know what? I'd go visit them. They might feel comfortable because they're pretty well capitalized. They get a decent amount of reserves. In fact, reserves is well over, way over 10% of their capitalization, and they've got a lot of assets. Okay. In fact, the good news for them is they've got way more deposits than they have loans. So they, on the surface, they're probably okay, but the bottom line is they've got some trouble loans. So I would go visit them. Okay. All right, let me bring my panel back over here and see what else we got. And I'm going to go over some rules with you guys. Okay. Okay. Sold them out. How do you get updated numbers? Adam says, nice, connect to credit union. So what I would do, Robert, is you can look and see, you can go visit the bank. Go visit the bank. You just have to, some banks are going to have 3 branches, some will have 5 branches. Some of them will have, 8 or 10 branches, and so they'll have a separate location for their headquarters. What you want to do is you want to go in there and ask them for the last annual financial statement. Now remember, they're gonna make that thing shine as best as they can. You know the old saying, they'll try to put as much lipstick on that pig as they can to make it look pretty, but if it's a pig, it's still a pig. So one of the things you want to get used to doing over time is reading financial statements, okay? Because you can start to read between the lines and see where perhaps they've been shifting some things around to cover their tracks, or if they've done what's called a cash call. Cash call is this. Let's say let's say everybody on this webinar tonight owns this bank. We're stockholders in this bank, okay? Let's just say it's not a credit union, it's a traditionally chartered bank, and we're stockholders. We own the bank, okay? If we're principal owners, like there's different levels of ownership. There's common stock, there's preferred stock, there's preferred participating stock. If you're a real owner and the company that you own starts to get into trouble, the board will do what's called a cash call, and they'll say, okay, owners, we're negative. You got to pony up. You got to put more, you got to invest more money in this bank right now, or we're going to fold up the doors and close the doors and fold up. It's called a cash call. So nobody, think about it, if you and I were stockholders, that we want the company we own to call us and say, you got to kick in more money? No, we want them giving us money, okay? So the fact is if we can go in there and take over some of their troubled assets, then they sell the problem. They also, of course, beef up their capital and their reserves, and everybody's happy. So if you're a stockholder, would you rather kick in money to a bank that's suffering, or would you rather tell the bank, sell that damn property with nobody's paying a loan on it? Okay, do that first. Well, we'd all say do that first, okay? All right, so back to what I'm saying, Robert, is they have to make financial statements available, and you can go ask for those financial statements. You can, if they ask you why, say I'm contemplating investing in the bank. Okay. You can also ask for their annual reports. Okay. And remember, they have to. The federal government's asking for those on a regular basis, and they have to make them available. Okay. Sometimes they'll run you through a little bit of a red tape, but just to give an example of what it's like sometimes. Many of you are in Keller Williams. Keller Williams is called an open book company. What that means is any of us could go to any Keller Williams office and walk to the front desk and say, I'd like to see your reports for the last month. And the rule is they're supposed to produce that in 60 seconds. And I've actually done that. And it's only been one case where the market center did not provide me the reports in 60 seconds. And it turns out that that bank was currently undergoing audit. But in most cases I've been to, they'd say, sure, no problem. And in 60 seconds, I got a full set of reports. Well, just know this: not every company is an open book company. They still have to report their information, and that information is deemed part of the public domain once it's been reported. So no reason. So if you want to get the real nitty gritty details, Robert, I would. It's better to go in there and ask for them in person. You can ask for them in writing. You just need to know who to write the letter to and what the address is. But back to this. So we want to look up Connecta. The credit unions. Let's go back to credit unions. I think that's how it's spelled. Let me go back here real quick. Connected. Yeah. Let's see what we get here. Headquartered in Manhattan Beach, California. I was just there. There you go again. Look at the trend lines going up. They're approaching, going past 5% up to 10%. By the way, great little. Who was it that put that in there? Jacob. How you doing, Jacob? Yeah, I love Manhattan Beach. Hermosa Beach, real close to each other. Great little beach towns, not too far from the airport, and most people don't even know they're there. Okay, so back here. Wow. Okay, so Jacob, they got 21 million troubled assets. Reserves 29 million, capital 338 million, loan loss provision 14 million. Okay, so on the surface, and they're a $4 billion bank. So on the surface, Jacob, I see troubled assets, the last row, 21 million, is greater than a loan loss provision of 14 million by about 50%. So they got 50% more troubled loans than they do loan loss provision. So I would go visit that bank, Jacob. That would be my recommendation. Okay. Let me bring this back over here. And what I'll do is I'll do just one or two more guys, and then we're going to have to. Hang on. Robert's got a question. How quickly can a bank turn these numbers around if they are negative? I got to tell you what, Robert. I've over the years, it's just every case is different. There was a bank. Actually a couple of banks up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I had a student. She might be on it. Katie Krause. She's not even an agent. She's an investor. She used this, and she went to go visit like 4 banks, I think, well, maybe 5 banks. 4 of them had they gave her the list of properties right there on the spot. I mean, literally, she walked in with a script that I'm getting ready to go over with you guys, and she had a list of properties, so she started making offers on them, and they were like, as long as you had cash. Which, hey, by the way, real quick, important thing here, guys. When you're dealing with these troubled assets with banks, you'll have a far better shot of success if you can come in with cash. If you've got to borrow money to buy the property they already are in trouble on a loan, they're going to be, they just know this, they will take a lower price as long as it's cash. Okay, because cash is a far more certain transaction. They don't have to worry about the loan being approved or not approved or appraisals, any of that kind of stuff. It's cash. It's an as-is deal. You take it or leave it, right? So in any case, they love cash. So back to your question, Robert. There was one bank in Milwaukee, and it was ridiculous. I mean, they were, I think it was like they were 200 million to the negative. They only had like 80 million in reserves, and they had several properties. I mean, a list of properties they were selling, and they were negotiating like they had all the time in the world. Only thing I can figure there, Robert, is they probably had some investors with deep pockets, and they figure if it push came to shove, they'd do a cash call. That's probably what their situation was. Other banks, though, have owners who are like, their response is, I'm not kicking in another dime because this thing looks like a sinking ship. And in that case, those banks are, they'll either be bought or they'll be forced to be merged with another bank, which essentially is a buyout. Or they'll simply be taken over. The bank regulators will actually install their own CEO. I've seen that happen too. So in any case, every situation is different. It all depends on how imminent the danger is, what the strength of the ownership is and things like that. There's just so many factors. The answer could be different for every single bank. Okay, let's go back here. I think we had another, where do you find the bank script? So Adam, I'm gonna go over that with you. Yeah, Pamela says that school bank was in California. So Pam, you and Robert should maybe connect if you want to. Pam, you may have gotten a loan from them, I don't know, but Robert's right in the area, and he's one of our students, Pam. I've actually met him 2 years ago. And Robert, Pam goes back a couple of years also, and she's also at the, I think at the mastermind level. Robert's saying here, Robert, I am a stockholder and have lost my ass here, 275K, worst 35K. Wow, Robert, I'm sorry to hear that, man. So tell you what, that bank, I don't, we'd have to, you know what you can do? Go visit the bank, Robert, and go ahead and get the last annual report. I don't know if they'll have it complete for 2018 yet, but they should have. You should want to get some current information, get the details on it, and see where they go from there. And just see what their plans are. I mean, if they won't talk to you, okay, that's a bad sign. If they're willing to talk to you and they're willing to share information, that's a good sign. Okay, Jacob's asking, would hard money be considered cash? Nah, yeah, that's still a loan, Jacob. Cash means you literally you gotta demonstrate you've got the cash on hand, in some type of a liquid asset or an asset that can be liquidated very quickly. Or even a letter of credit from another institution, that is actually better than like a pre-approval letter. A letter of credit means that lender has deemed you to be so creditworthy, they're willing to put it in writing and back you up to a certain amount. That's a pretty good, if you get a letter of credit, that's a good deal. But nothing like cash, okay? Pamela says, hi, Robert, contact me. So real quick, guys, just so you know, let me go here real quick. So Pam, Robert's last name is Oosdyke. He's in the San Clemente Market Center. It's just go to kw.com, go to the state California, and scroll down to San Clemente, and you'll see his information. And then Pam Reggio, Robert, it's Reggio, and she's at the State College Market Center in State College, Pennsylvania, where the University of Pennsylvania is, or Penn State University, excuse me. So in any case, both of you, good guys too, by the way. Well, that wouldn't be. I hope you maybe. Hey Pam, you should come out to California because you'll get to meet Robert in person. And by the way, they've invited MIS has invited like 500 chiropractors and 500 dentists. They're not going to show up, but maybe 10% of them show up. You guys are going to get yourself some pretty good clients into that deal. Okay, let me go back to the question boxes. I want to give you guys a script, but I want to make sure the questions are all answered here before we do that. Okay, questions. Here we go. Oh, is this Pam Winter? Oh, two Pams. I'm sorry, Robert. Please excuse me. Pam Reggio is on, but let me go back to the attendee list because this might be Pam Winter, Winner. Excuse me, Pam. Excuse me, both Pams. So Pam, you guys are right in the same neck of the woods there. Okay, let's do this, guys. Let me check one more time because I think we can go ahead and give you the script. Yeah, Pam's at the Long Beach. Well, there's two Long Beach market centers. I think you were at the one that was a Pacific Estates. I think that's Pam. That's the one I met you at, Pacific Estates. Okay, let's do this. Everybody get your pens and pencils out, okay? And this is getting recorded too, so remember it's going to be recorded. So let's say you go visit this bank, Connect the Bank, okay? You're going to walk in, and you're going to see, branch manager, vice president, whatever, a couple of offices and all the tellers. You're looking for the person in charge. That person has to actually be there in person because this is an in-person script. In-person script, okay? So assuming they're there, and just write down some keywords because remember, this is going to be recorded. You get the recording the very next day. Introduction first. Hi, I'm Gary Wilson. I'm a realtor in the area. I'll let you catch up on that. Okay. and I have clients who are interested in properties just like yours. Okay. Now, don't use the word foreclosure. Just say properties just like yours. Okay. If they question you, you can say, I'm referring to your troubled assets. That means something to a banker. Okay. And you're going to say this. You're going to say, I just want to sell one. Now, we obviously want to sell more than one. But but one lowers, what it does is it lowers the guard, puts them, takes them out of the defensive and into the open-mindedness. Okay. So then you'll say, so let's do one together. Okay. So let's do one together. And when you like the results, then perhaps we can do more. Okay. So, hi, I'm Gary Wilson. I'm a realtor in the area, and I have clients who are interested in properties just like yours. Okay. I just want to sell one. So let's do one together. And when you like the results, then perhaps we can do more. Now, those last three sentences are the actual pitch. So once you've opened them up, lowered the guard, you hit them with the pitch, and that's, so let's do one together, presumption. And when you like the results, implication, then perhaps we can do more together. That's where you actually transfer control of the conversation to them, and they have to respond. Of course, they're going to, half the time going to say no, right? Or have some kind of a question. As long as the answer does not include the word no, I know I've got the door open. And at this point, you just have to. So let's say, they're talking to Bob, and he says, you've got to call Pam. Pam's the attorney on the board. She handles our foreclosures. I would say, great. Then I gather 5 pieces of information. And we can write this down. It's the old who, what, where, when, why. Or excuse me, who, what, where, when, how. Not why, but how. Don't ask them why, because they'll think you're crazy. So W, 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 H. 4 W's and H. Who, what, where, when, how. In other words, who's Pam, where's Pam, how do I contact Pam, what's Pam's contact information, and when's the best time to contact Pam. All right. At that point, now you've got to put on your realtor hat and go in there and get yourself a listing. Now, just so you know, I used to use this first as an investor. Okay. I used it first as an investor. It wasn't until years later where I started going in representing other clients, and not just investors. I would do this for my owner occupants too, because I knew if I could show my owner occupants that I could get them a really good deal, I would get a lot of referrals out of it, because most agents weren't doing this. Most agents were just using MLS. And here I was going way outside mainstream, getting way away from the herd. And quite frankly, owner occupants want a good deal too, especially the people who are, people that own businesses typically all of us, we're all business people. We're looking for the best deal we can get. Okay. So I would do that. And all I did is I tweaked the script to be used as a realtor. Okay. So as an investor, I mean, literally I'd walk in, guys, with my sneakers on and tennis shoes, and blue jeans or whatever, and say, I'm interested in properties just like yours. Okay. I actually get more responses as an agent than I do as an individual investor. But in any case, great script. Now, a couple things here. When you get a bank listing, just know this: it's always better if you're working with a community bank. Banks that are what we call portfolio lenders. So please write that down. Portfolio lenders. The reason is if you deal with banks that sell their mortgages, like Bank of America, you're going to get routed to an asset manager, which basically makes your lives way much more difficult. Okay. So in any case, we don't want to deal with asset managers if at all possible right now. The economy's doing great. But when it's not doing great, yeah, we got to have to deal with some asset managers. But by that time, you'll have enough experience under your belt. You know how to deal with them. So back to this. In most cases, you can use your own listing forms for the listing. Okay, you might have a one-page disclosure or an addendum because it's the loans in default or going into foreclosure. Okay, you treat it like any other listing. Very rarely will they make you pay for expenses out of your pocket. And I bring this up because if you're dealing with the big banks where you're using asset managers, just know this. They're often out of state. You're dealing with somebody hundreds of thousands of miles away, and they're going to have you take over the management of the property. I don't mean in just terms of listing. They're going to have you make sure everything's arranged for cutting grass, paying the electric bill, and the all this stuff. And I did that to the point where I got tired of it because they also ask you to cut your commission down. Okay, that's the asset managers with the big banks. You see what I'm saying? With these smaller community banks, you're more likely to not get that type of arrangement. It's more, yeah, you're the agent, you're going to list a property and sell it, but that property is their property. They're going to pay the electric bill. They're going to pay the tax on that. Stuff like that. I don't ever let yourself fall into that trap. I did that before. I was selling thousands of those things, guys, for the big ones, including like, Fannie Mae and HUD and all them. And what happens is asset managers are companies, and they're intermediary companies. They're not even real estate companies. They're not licensed. But what they're doing is they're taking over the assets, the troubled assets, okay? And as such, what they do is they require to lower your commission, usually drop off from 6% to 5%. They also require you get those utilities in your name. But here's the problem. Because they're companies, they buy and sell each other. And here's what happens, and I've had this happen to me personally. I was strung out about $3,000 on this one property, utility bills and all kinds of stuff. And the company went under, and another company took over. And I went to collect from them and said, well, wait a second. That arrangement was with the other company. It wasn't with us. You got to go collect from them. Well, they'd gone out of business, okay? And you can try to go through all the trouble of filing mechanics liens and stuff like that, but the bottom line is you'll get a judgment, but if the company's out of business, you'll be one of many creditors waiting in line to collect, okay? So in any case, I'm not saying that happens a lot, but it did happen, and it does happen to other people too. And I don't want you to get stuck in that. I'd rather you deal with the small local banks first, get your feet wet, get some experience, build those relationships, because those guys will also give you referrals, okay? And then when the bottom drops out of this thing and we start having a lot more troubled assets, and the big banks start kicking in the gear, you can start dealing with them and they'll work with you because you got more experience. And I made a lot of money selling those properties. I also got a lot of gray hair. So in any case, guys, let me wrap things up for today. I thought we'd spend more time on the script, but what I'll do is I'll type this in. I've got a long flight back to California tomorrow. I'll type this in, but more importantly, just remember it's going to be in the recording, okay? Oh, hey, Robert, Pam's in the Pacific Estates Market Center. That's what I thought. So, hey, guys, listen, I just want to wish you, the Canadians, again, happy Family Day. For those of you coming out to California for this event, it's going to be bigger than what you've seen last year. We got some special guests coming. I've got a great MC, a guy named Jason Shinpaw. I got to see him, meet him in person at my last Go Abundance Mastermind event, and he really he did such a great job. We became good friends, so he's going to come out there. I've got another special guest. One of the principals at Equity Trust is coming out. We met each other on the annual Rio Cruise last year, and I might have another special guest. I'm going to keep the name quiet right now. It's not something you're expecting, but if I can finagle it, it'll be a big win for everybody. Great way to pump you up, get you motivated, and give you some inspire you to reach higher and go further with your business. So anyways, guys, we will see you next week, which is going to be, let's see, that is going to be, hang on one second. Wow, is it really going to be? So next Wednesday is the 27th. That's when we're supposed to have the next webinar. Again, let me know what you want to cover. Send it to me in an email, and I'll prepare for that and go over that when we get together next week. Thanks, guys. Take care of yourselves. God bless you and your families, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.